to your 5-minute Maximo coffee break. Welcome to today's Maximo Coffee Break. In today's session, we're going to talk about and go through the necessary steps to upgrade your MAS Manage. Let's just talk about what has changed with the deployment. Everyone is aware that the deployment architecture has changed, right? The installation has changed. It no longer supports a Windows platform. Linux was supported, but now it is only installed and deployed through OpenShift. MAS CLI, which is one of the tools that I'm using, is a great tool to help the install. There are other methods that you can install by using the Ansible playbooks, which is what MAS CLI is doing. You can use YAML files, configuration files, lots of different options. Those options become relevant to the skill set of the people or the knowledge of the people that are actually doing the implementation. The configuration of the environment is different. And this is really about how do you go and set up multiple JVMs, or in the past, when we talk about setting up clustered environments, that configuration is different. And then the item that we're talking about today is the upgrade patching. It is very streamlined, and I'll go into more detail. From a system perspective, there are some changes around Maximo properties, system properties, how the server bundles, so again, the JVMs and the different parameters that you would apply. Integration has slightly changed, with JMS still being available. You also maybe potentially using Kafka, using API keys to integrate with your system, and also the ability to create customization archives. There is an ability, you can still have custom Java classes, or you can still integrate or implement specific image files that you want, or that's done through a customization process. From a MAS perspective, user management is different. And in 9.0, it's different. 9.1 is going to change again. And how you manage certificates is actually, I personally feel that it's simplified. When we talk about upgrading and patching process, we look at our, Maximo 7.6, 7.6.1 patching process. It was almost a little bit of a science and a process how you do it. If you were just core Maximo, it was pretty simple, straightforward. But once you had an industry solution or an add-on, it got a little bit more complex. You had to worry about versions. You had to worry about prerequisites and making sure you get them in the right order. In some cases, you would have to go and get from Passport Advantage, PPA versions. You would get your patches from Fix Central. You would get your fix packs or interim fixes from Fix Central. Some of them use the installation manager to deploy. Sometimes they were, typically for industry solutions and add-ons, they were in zip files. So you had to unpack those zip files. So it was just a lot of mix and matching. And then you would have to run update DB. Then you would have to build your ear files, and you'd have to deploy it. A lot of manual steps. What is now taking 2 hours to patch took an experienced person, somewhere from 4 to 8 hours. And usually most organizations didn't even bother patching just because of the complexity and not knowing all the right pieces. So now the benefit of MAS Manage from version 8 to version 9 and in future versions, this has really become simple. All of this is managed through the entitled registry, and based on the applications that you select. So obviously Maximo Manage with any of the industry solutions and add-ons, the application through the containerization understands which base images to grab, which industry solutions and add-ons to grab, the Liberty base image, which is somewhat equivalent to the WebSphere network deployment that you would install, and then all the operator images, all the prerequisites, the MongoDB, the Grafana, all those people. Those are now all managed within the container. So you don't have to know that you have oil and gas 9.0 and which patch to get, or you have nuclear, or you have spatial installed, and which patch do I need? And is there a prerequisite for Maximo base? The install in the IBM entitled registry will manage all that. As you can see, when I kicked it off, I didn't tell it what to download or it went and just did it for me. Although this is showing as succeeded and completed, I do want to point you to going back to the pods and looking specifically at the manage pod. I'd like to sort by the created date. The date is today. There is one additional update, and these are all based off of Ansible scripts. So it's a timing, and You have to wait for reconciliation, or what they refer to as reconciliation, to catch up and see. And what you will find, the Max Inst pod, which is further down here. There's the Max Inst pod. See, it hasn't run since May 13th, or was last started May 13th, not today. So this Max Inst pod will very shortly terminate. A new pod will initiate. That Max Inst pod will run then the update DB command to update the database to the latest version. So although these were restarted, this is still running on the old version. We have to wait for that Max Inst pod to kick off, do its update, and then it will redeploy the pods based on your configurations. This process will, again, depending on the size of your database and how much data you have, will take approximately another 20 to 30 minutes. We'll just wait here. We'll see the Max Inst pod pull up, and then we'll see the other pods regenerate. With the pipeline now finished, that means that the prerequisites have been downloaded and patched. The MAS Manage have been downloaded and installed. And from a pipeline perspective, it's complete. There are still additional steps that the OpenShift MAS Manage are going through from a patching perspective. So I moved over to our work logs and pods, and I'm looking at the Manage project, and I've sorted by the created date. And since the pipeline has finished, a number of things are happening here. The admin build is for the MAS Administration Suite. It has created a build. So think of this again as building the EAR file for the administration. Although the applications are still running and have come back up, they are not on the latest version. So users can still technically log in, but it is preferred to make sure that when you are patching, that you call the appropriate outage, no different than you would have done in the past, 2 to 3 hours, no more than 3 hours. My experience has been in the 2-hour range patching systems. It always depends on network throughput. Obviously, the OpenShift environment of servers, CPU, memory, and disk speed. So those all factor into the amount of time. And the updates that I've been doing, approximately an hour and a half to 2 hours is what most of them have been taking. So we talked about the admin build. There's an all build. So this is your Maximo Manage build. This would be your Maximo.ear build. And for those that used to patch Maximo and deploy Maximo. And now we have the Max Inst pod. So this pod gets recreated. And in this pod, think of opening up a command window in the previous version, going to your SMP/Maximo tools folder and running update DB. And this is basically what is happening in this Max Inst pod. It's going to go through, it's going to run update DB. It'll kick off here shortly. You can monitor that. I like to monitor. I'm not really doing anything or interacting or telling it to go to the next step. It's just doing it. I'm just making sure that, hey, is there any pending config DB changes? And I might have to run a config DB, or is there an error? And again, in most cases, I have not seen an update DB fail. That's, again, one of the benefits of containerization that users get. In the past, this would typically fail in some cases, and then you would have to troubleshoot and look. IBM has done all the hard work already about making sure these versions work with one another and that update DB does not fail. So this Max Inst pod is going to run, again, depending on the patch, what needs to be patched and the data. This will take approximately another 5 to 10 minutes. And then after this, we will see the all and JMS pods terminate. There they go. They're already starting to terminate, and then they'll get redeployed. Once those are redeployed, that means that everything is now patched. We can log in to Maximo. So now we can see that after the Max Inst pod got recreated, all and the JMS pod are recreated. When we see 2 of 2 on the all pod, that basically means that Maximo Manage is now up and running. It's listening and it's ready for connection. So the next step really is to log into Maximo Manage and confirm that you can log into the system and that it was patched to the latest version. But before we do that, we'll just go to the installed operators. I'm on the Manage project. I can see now that we're at 9.0.13. Earlier, we were at 9.0.11. I'm going to change that to core. Maximo Application Suite was, I believe, 9010, and now we're at 9011. That's been patched. Now we're going to go to our Maximo login. We're going to log, and because this is the first time that we're logging in after it was patched, it's going to take a little bit. But here we can see that it was patched. So the Start Center is coming up, and I'm doing that in order to see the system information. But now I can see that our environment has been patched to the latest release. Those are all the steps. Here are a few helpful links on how to obtain the MAS CLI and the IBM documentation about using the subscription channel method and how to upgrade or patch your Maximo Manage environment. I hope you found that informative, and have a great day.